Let me do a little announcement here. Got to mute myself over on the other side. See, it doesn't do that. Talk to me a minute, Tony. Yeah, it's not bouncing over. It's not bouncing over when I talk, though. It bounces when you guys talk, but not when I talk for some reason. It's just weird. Hold on a second. They can hear me out there, I'm sure. I want to pin to the second screen, not this one. I'll go back to gallery here. Okay, I think I can get something out of that. No, it's killing me. It's kicking my butt here, boys. All right, here we go. Are we ready? I'm going to do a little intro here and we'll be out. I'm waiting for, here's a couple people coming into the actual feed on the other side. So, all of you out there on Facebook and Leland Best Live, if you're checking out my feed on Best Live TV or wherever that might be, you can head over to stage.bestlivetv if you want to go that route. We are going live in just a minute out here on Best AIO Podcasts, or Best AI Podcast. If I can't scrap the AIO out of all of this one way or another, I'm going to be having a hard time with it. We still are gathering the folks into the back end of the Zoom that we're going to be broadcasting from today. So if you have not registered for the event, go check out the event at event.sessions, where you can sign up for Best AI Podcast and come into the actual feed where we're doing things before the show starts. The show doesn't actually start until 7, so you can come out, hang with us for a little bit, and watch the chatter before we go live. When we do, feel free to get in the chat and hang out with us because we're here for an hour. So go look for the feed. Go register quick before we close this thing down today. We'll see you then. All right, that feed is closed. Everybody out here is going to be hanging out in the session with us. So, guys, we are here and we're actually in the session right now to anyone out there that's live. So I'm going to give some brief introductions for everyone here. Welcome to the broadcast, all of you. My name is Leland Best, if you don't know me, and I have 4 other gentlemen with me here, one on the way as well. We're going to be broadcasting with you guys tonight at Best AI Podcast. To my immediate left, I believe, that way, on the screen is Mr. Lee Love over of Photo Mentor TV. Next to him is Ross McCamey over at Maverick Solutions. We've got Tony White at Wise Media LLC, Wise Media Group. I always get that one wrong, dude. And of course, we've got Chris Stroke over at Focus Biz. So I'm going to let you one at a time give a brief bio introduction of yourselves. Just make it short and sweet. Lee, give us your roll down real quick. Yes, sir. That is true. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Lee. Ross, you're next. Hold on, guys. My bad. Oh, I got one. No, it's my bad. We're starting off. We're doing a great job here today. So you can tell that I'm the video guy. I'm the guy that's messing this all up. So I got to start over, guys. I had my feed going out on one mic, but I had your feed going out on a second mic. And if you heard the bells ringing, everybody's like, I can't hear Lee or Ross. So Lee, you're gonna get to start all over again to let everyone know who you are. But before you do, I had to switch pins here because I want to make sure you guys get to see these guys for who they really are. And I do have single screens up for everybody. I just haven't gotten everything organized on my end. So we're trying to move along as we go. All right, Lee, take it away one more time. Who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do?
I have no idea.
All right, cool. That's simple. We're done. Over with.
I told my wife, she says, what's this podcast about? I said, we're doing this thing on AI. She goes, well, that means you don't actually have to be there, right? You could just let your AI bot be there. And that was not quite true. But anyway, I Lee Love. I'm a commercial photographer. Been one for about 30 years, and do advertising and magazine work primarily. I've recently transitioned in the last 4 years into teaching, helping young photographers understand photography. I call it educate, encourage, and mentor them so they're not overwhelmed. And I also have a background in a lot of technology from all kinds of, whether it be video, computer systems, IT, whatever, and programming. So that's kind of my background.
Awesome. All right, Lee, I appreciate that. Ross, you're next, like you were before.
All right. Ross McCamey, Maverick Solutions is the company that I've created. And I have a background in insurance. And late last year, I saw that insurance companies were struggling. And I thought, man, I really just don't want to be a part of this anymore. And thought I could create a better system for that. So I dove headfirst into AI and created a space called AI Fusion. And my goal is to teach business owners and entrepreneurs to use AI into their businesses seamlessly to create a better customer experience and to help them grow and make a better experience for their employees and themselves as well.
Awesome intro, dude. All right, Tony, you're next.
All right, my name is Tony White with Wise Media Group in Yakima, Washington. What we are is a podcast studio, and we provide marketing as well to our local community up here in Yakima, Washington, and rent out our studio for local businesses. And we're getting into AI and trying to introduce that to our local community as well. So,
all right, Mr. Troca, you are next on the list, sir.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris Troca. Over the last 10 years, I built and grew an award-winning wedding DJ business.
Oops, I got the wrong screen. Lee's doing a great job on his first run here.
Just like the
messing stuff up.
ambiance.
I don't have any buttons set up yet. So guys, I'm doing that as we're programming. In case you didn't know, this isn't really an event. This is called what we in the big leagues we call them pilots, and it's just we're just here to get together and talk about the show. So you're getting a feel.
It's called a train wreck, but I guess it's pretty much the same.
Thanks, that's a little better. I appreciate that. So let's get back to Chris and his intro. I apologize, Chris, for cutting you off in the middle of that. Go ahead.
Choo-choo, no problem. All right, everyone. Did you hear the first part, or do I start over?
Start all over
I got my
again.
sound
Just start
board
all
here.
over
I
again.
can play some sound effects.
Oh, nice. My name is Chris Troca. Over the last 10 years, I built and grew a award-winning DJ business here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we built a team. Over that time, you had to learn how to be good at sales, marketing in order to actually grow your business. Fell in love with marketing, went back to school and earned a degree. And for the last 4 years, I've been helping other business owners, mainly with their CRM, their brand, their image, in order to get found online.
That's awesome.
That's been my jam. And now we're here doing AI. I love it.
That's right. And I've got one that nobody really knew was coming. So I've got a special guest here today. I'm not going to let him read his own bio because I think this is just one worthy of a little bit of introduction. I've known Brad for quite a while. He's a good friend of myself and my wife. But a little bit about Brad Slows, if I'm pronouncing that properly. I know I tear it up once in a while. But Brad's a serial entrepreneur, former C-level executive, and an award-winning business author. Now, as far as Brad is, and I don't even have a banner for him. I got to make you a banner, Brad. You're next. One of his startups, K2 Design, became a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ as an IPO. As a result, Brad was thrust into the limelight as a .com executive and has been featured in Forbes and Inc. magazines, Advertising Age, and appeared in international television shows, podcasts, and other media outlets. Brad's also the award-winning author of Liquid Leadership and the host of his own podcast, Awaken Nation, interviewing today's cutting-edge outliers and entrepreneurs. So, Brad, thanks so much for coming. I appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you, Leland, and I thank everybody else on there. You forgot one thing in there. I have a degree in art.
Yes, you do.
That's it. That's it.
We won't hold that against you,
No,
Brad,
we
but it's
won't.
okay, man.
I pinch myself. I know how to get cows off a highway.
Know how to get cows off a highway? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Out getting
I grew up in
roadkill.
South Central Pennsylvania, so I pinch myself every day when somebody reads my bio. So
That's
thanks,
all
guys.
good.
I really am honored to be here. I'm happy I got invited. I'm a novice with AI, but I did write about it a little bit, and I've talked about it with friends. And I think my next book is going to be written through AI. I'm going to see how this goes.
That's awesome.
Cool.
And that's where we're going to kind of head with this, guys. The whole purpose of us getting together so that we can understand why I brought you 5 here with me today, is the fact that we are across the entire nation. We have people representing from the likes of North Carolina, Michigan, Milwaukee, Washington State, and Las Vegas, so all together in the same boat here today. And I'd say Washington, D.C., right? For Lee as well.
That's
so
okay.
Also in the D.C. area. With that being said, we have people from various generations, Lee being a boomer, myself and I believe Tony being Gen X, and the other two being millennials. So we're kind of hoping to touch the gamut of all those areas and hope to get some of the Gen X and Gen Y involved in this too, if they'd like to participate going forward. So I have an agenda that's already pretty much destroyed when we think about it, but it's not a big deal. Those people out there watching on sessions. Now, we did a fast switch the last minute because we were having audio issues with the individual feeds for everybody as a presenter. So we decided to pump the entire feed in as one element to you guys. And I apologize. We've been having audio issues just coming back and forth, because we're trying to get this all set up for next week, basically was the purpose. So if you're getting any audio glitches, please comment in the section down over to the right where you can leave some comments. And I'm going to pop the show agenda on here over there so they can see it, I should say. We've done the opening intros. Now, my next stage in the show would be to start with some news beat, what's going on in the AI news. Everybody knows it's all over their news feed. Wherever they go, if you do a Google search, it's AI news everywhere. Lee, what are the types of news announcements that you see in your feed?
I don't think anything's going on with AI that I've heard of.
Yeah, well, it seems to be on every page
boring,
of the
pretty
internet.
stagnant, nothing changing, same old, I think.
Well, the other thing I wanted to mention is you delve a lot in photography. Ross is a marketer. Tony's an SEO guy. Chris is a DJ. And we've got Brad, who's a podcaster. So myself, I'm the video guy per se. Video
AI
as well.
Is touching all of that stuff.
Yes.
That's the great thing about it.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Lee. Give me your thought on that.
I'm not going to give you guys the news. There's too much going on, but basically it's changing every single second, it seems like, which is really hard to keep up with, which is exciting. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people here, I love to learn, and I'm just have this thirst for knowledge, very inquisitive. And so I can tell you one thing. For those of you that are not familiar with AI, thinking about it, not thinking about it, hate it, don't hate it, whatever, I can tell you personally what it's done for me. It has given me the ability, what I call the strength of 10 men. It's given me the ability to do so much more than I could have done by myself. So as an entrepreneur, it's fantastic. I can use it to help me write emails. I can use it to help. Again, it doesn't do the work for me. It helps me. It's an assistant. If I don't like it, I change it. But the point is, it's a great tool. And that's the thing that's important to remember. AI is just a tool, no different than a hammer or anything else. And it's how it's used that makes a difference.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Lee. I appreciate it. Anybody else want to chime in on that while we got over?
I'd like to piggyback on that and say, for me, what I see it is it's an indexing tool for the internet. It's pretty much like having everything at your fingertips right there. And that's the key. People are scared of it, but it has the fastest world knowledge database out there. You can type in what you want, it pulls it immediately. And there's not a human on earth that can do that. And there's not another system like Google that can do that unless you use Bard or Gemini to do that. So I agree with you completely, Lee. The tool is there, and it's not to be feared.
And they're all different. I've noticed that I'll use Bard for certain things and Chat GPT for others. So sometimes I like the results of one or the other, or I'll try Bing. So again, it just depends on what you're trying to do with it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. And with regards to that same comment with news, okay, there's a lot going on in the news today when it comes to machine learning, whether it's, database development, whether it's creating videos on the fly with AI, image generation, obviously, is another thing. But some of the news that hit today was kind of stunning for a lot of people. And I think it's putting another bad tarnish on what AI is capable of. And that was what happened with our little pop singer today. I'm sure you've seen some of the news about what's going on with Taylor Swift. They had to shut down the entire search for her name because some explicit videos and AI imagery went across the internet and just blew up. So when that happened, Elon was kind enough to make sure that nobody could search those images. I thought that was a brilliant move on his part to make sure that none of that could get prosper from that. But it just shows one aspect to AI that I think threatens the market, and it's also something that deters people from using AI. So let's say, Ross, what do you think we should do to help people stop thinking and being scared of AI? And I've got a little video clip I want to play after you get done.
Personally, I think people need to try it and delve into it and realize that once you use it, it's not as scary as you think.
Yeah, exactly.
You see how fallible it is from a perspective of it's not going to give you a perfect answer every time, which means it's not this all-seeing eye that's everywhere, omnipresent. And it's just a tool. It's something that, like I said, to me, it's an indexing tool, and it drastically changes the speed in which you can do something, but it doesn't change the fact that a human needs to prompt it, at least at this point. And I think as long as we keep the reins on it, then there's nothing to fear.
No,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
good.
I think let me just add real quick.
Yep,
I think
please.
it's the same thing you were talking about the internet. I mean, look, there's websites that are not very good websites, right? That have bad information, that have bad people doing bad things, or pornography, whatever you pick your poison.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are people that are doing great things with it. So it really doesn't matter what is being said or done. It's how people, number one, are using this tool, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think AI is a reflection of the human condition, and I think that's the biggest problem we have. Is that that's why we should be afraid of it. We are the ones that are doing it. It's not AI doing it. It's our own humanity that's distorting this stuff.
I agree. Good
I would
stuff.
treat it like phishing emails were back in the 90s, right? Everybody would click on a link, and all of a sudden you got scammed or spammed with something, and now you know what it looks like. I would rather educate the public instead of hide from what's out there.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
No running from it.
If you want to go ahead, Tony, I was going to just add
Well, I was
this
just saying,
little
there's no running from it, no matter what you do. You either have to embrace it, like we're trying to do here, and everybody learn from it. Because no matter what you could do, it's going to be in your face, it's going to be up front, and it's always going to be changing. So, learn or be left behind, and that's just that simple.
Well, let's look at the great thing. I mean, a hammer can be used to build a home for somebody, or it can be used to kill somebody, right? It's the same thing. And I don't go that far with AI, but the point is, it's the same thing. I mean, you can use this thing for good. Look at the technology we have already. The ability to just up-res a photo with no noise as a photographer. That's amazing what AI is allowing us to do. The ability to help you. What if you're not very good at speaking and not well educated? It can help you with your English. It can help you with grammar, punctuation. Those are all very basic things. What if you have a disability? It can, and you can't speak very well or whatever. It can help you with that as well. I think the biggest thing we're going to see that's going to turn people's opinion around is how it's going to affect the medical community and how it's going to affect diagnosing of diseases.
Oh, absolutely, in that regard. But there's also another aspect and there's another aspect that the medical community can use AI, and we're not even touching on it, because obviously you're thinking of operations, things that can help solve and cure disease, diagnose, you name it. There's all kinds of things along that line. But our buddy Chris here works with a dentist and a doctor's organization of sorts. What types of AI might you present to those organizations, Chris? Give us a little idea of how the other side of that AI spectrum can come into play on their efforts.
Absolutely. So from that, it can be within their content strategy. So this can 10x just the foundation and time it takes in order for you to create the content. So creating blog posts, the snippets, the social media content, all of this can be refined within a lot of these learning language models, ChatGPT, things like that. Beyond that, there's a lot of things like chatbots or ways that we can incorporate AI into that human interaction in order to pre-qualify your leads, provide them information, and just be that helpful resource to get them to the next step. And again, just like any tool, anything that's out there, it's how you use it, how you prompt it. It's already in our lives. Since 8 months ago, AI was already inside our design program for Canva. It's already inside our podcast editing for Descript. Sometimes you don't realize it. I didn't even notice it was there until Leland was like, "Hey, did you notice this?" I said, "What? This is just every time I see AI, it's blowing my mind, my mind. It's absolutely incredible."
Yeah. I've always considered the fact that when you talk to you call up somebody and you call it to the bank, They want your account number, and you're talking to this thing. It's interpreting your words. It's already understanding. To me, that's a form of AI.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I'll
absolutely.
say the big corporations have been using this for a long time. It's just now getting down to you and I so that we can have access to it. So this is kind of what I say social media was to the marketer, the evening of the playing field. That's what this does for the average entrepreneur.
Good way of
Absolutely.
describing it.
Yep, I like that.
You're absolutely right. They've been using it for a long time. When I was doing research for my first book, what started to come out was in the gaming industry. AI was already happening and anticipating the gamers' needs, both online and regular console gaming. And they didn't program this in. It was just part of the programming of the game to anticipate what the user was going to do and start to look for patterns. So we've been using this for a long time in the gaming industry. This is just the next evolution in it. And I agree with Chris. It's almost ubiquitous. You don't notice it. It pops up all of a sudden. You're like, oh yeah, I think I will buy another whatever that is. And it just happens. It's fluid.
I think the first thing we're going to see or become aware of it even more so is you look at Amazon, right? You go to Amazon, you look at something. Next thing you know, they show you 3 or 4 things. Oh, you've seen this. They're sending you an email. You might be interested in this as well. I think that's also where AI is going to be used, not in a great way, in my opinion, but still to anticipate more personalized information for what you're looking for based on things you've already said or fed the AI system.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. What else we
almost
got? Oh, go ahead. Anybody's got a thought? Let's go with Ross first. Go ahead.
I was just agreeing. I thought that said enough all on its own. Somebody else wanted to chime in.
Oh, sorry, Tony. Then it must have been. I heard
No,
two.
it's okay.
Okay, I thought I heard two voices going to advance. So let's just take it out of the news beat then from it, because the idea of the format I was hoping to build up was we'd kind of spend some time on AI news, where it's going, what we're seeing out there, what's happening in the industry at that moment in time. I'm not here to try and teach you machine learning. I'm not trying to teach you how to necessarily learn what operates a chatbot. I want you to be able to progress forward and use it and apply it in your life and in your business. That's all this podcast came about for. And that's why I brought these other gentlemen along for the ride, so that they can help me do that for you. Our next, let's call it segment into this process, we might say, would be to advance, improvise, and overcome. The AIO is something I developed for my own brand, so this will change, but it's something that I bounced off of so that we can understand it a little better. We've got to move ahead. We've got to figure out ways to use this, so we're always improvising how to use this tool for that and that tool for this and everything else, because it wasn't designed for a specific use per se. It was given an ability to create images, to create videos. How we do that is up to us. So we want to be able to advance the conversation. We also want to be able to improvise and then develop better outcomes. Today, just for instance, Lee, you've been doing photo imagery for quite some time with AI. You presented me some options that I hadn't seen before. And then I mentioned to Lee, look, when you're doing imaging, you have the ability to tell it what kind of camera you're using, what kind of lens you're using, what type of focal distance you want to have, what your aperture settings are, what type of lens actually, because it knows these things. It has the specs on all that. And Lee, when I went one step deeper, I found if you just add the term macro to the prompt and tell it to do a macro prompt, your mind is going to be completely blown when you see the results. So think of it as a true conversation. A lot of people are using this. Give me an image, green, with a hat, on the beach, blah, blah, blah. They're using commas. They're not talking to the thing, for God's sake. Just talk to it. That's what it was trained to do, is to be talked to.
Something I learned recently. It's a great point. Something I learned recently. I'm like most people. I ask it a question. Hey, help me do this, generate that. But a couple of weeks ago, I'm a little bit annoyed, by the way, with YouTube and what they're doing with AI. Apparently, what they're planning on doing is having a YouTuber flag your content if it uses AI. Now, how they're going to do this, I don't know. But anyway, the point was, so I went on the bar just for fun. I said, what is YouTube doing? Why is YouTube banning AI? And it came back and said, well, they're not really banning YouTube. They're not really banning AI. So what I decided to do was take its own words and repeat them back to him, and I had a discussion. I basically argued or debated, barred. I've never done that before. It came back with some amazing, interesting results that you might want to try. Instead of just asking it for something, challenge it. Say, well, I don't believe in this. What do you think about that? And it came back and said, wow, this is a really good point. There were a couple of things I think I really convinced it that my point was better. And I found that really, really intriguing. I never tried that before. So there's one thing. The second thing is that, and I'm sure, I think it's Tony can talk about this, or one of the other guys, not Tony, it was the other
Chris?
gentleman. I'm sorry,
Chris. That would be
Chris. Chris could talk about that. Corporations have a lot of data they've collected on different things. Let's say you're an attorney, or so you can take your own data, train it, so that now that gives you an edge on your competition, because you have all this data. You can now train on the AI and use it internally to help provide better customer service. That, I think, is another thing we're going to see used that people are not aware of.
True that. Chris, you want to touch on that, or is that?
Absolutely. To comment with Lee and then Leland's point, what's interesting about this AI and how we're using it is the fact that it is just conversational. We just tell this thing what we want, and it understands us better than we understand ourselves or the prompt that we're giving it. And if you're not liking the result that you're getting from your AI program, try a different prompt. You need to kind of take the collective mentorship you've had in the past, the leadership, to give it clear and concise instructions, expand on it. Again, it's blowing my mind every time I'm using this. And some tip is just be a little more polite to your LLM, your Chat GPT. The more positive reinforcement you provide to the robots, I feel like they respond really well, despite them not having feelings. I feel like you get much better results when you
See, I just figured that was so that when they take over the world, they wouldn't
be nice
attack
to
me.
them now.
Skynet's going to go live.
Speaking of which, I've got a little video I want to play while we've got it, but I know a couple of you wanted to say something, so whoever had something to say real quick, go for it.
I just want to say there are times whenever it actually helps you when you get multiple prompts that you've gone through and they don't work. Get a little emotional and be like, what the hell are you doing? This is not what I want. And then it'll actually respond like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes,
It'll
exactly.
give you more of what you said in that prompt. So occasionally when you're nice most of the time, it's almost like oh, this guy's normally nice. What did I do? Let me give him once.
Yeah, he doesn't get so
now it has emotion.
Go ahead.
Play with those patterns.
One of the things that I've noticed is that if you preface what it is you're trying, so if you say, okay, let's say you're asking a legal question, which is probably not a great example, but if you said, okay, you're an attorney, you type this in, you're acting as an attorney, I need your help in some legal advice. I know you're not a real lawyer, but can you tell me about that? If you set up your preface, propose what you were looking for, or how you want it to. You're a professional script writer. I need you to help me write a script for a storyline. Then it will give you much better results than if you just ask dumb questions right off the bat.
For sure. Okay. I'm going to share this video. I know I'm covering up a couple of people, not their faces per se, but again, this is a preliminary production, folks, for all those watching. This is not what the final first episode is going to look like. So this is one that I found on TikTok, and it's an actual event that took place discussing some of the dangers that we are going to have to face with AI. So just bear with the conversation. You should be able to hear the audio. Let me know if you don't. Dangers. 1 second, please. We're going to... Okay, I hope that makes the point that I was trying to make. That it
Well,
does.
you know, it's a
Whoops,
half
sorry, I
full,
gotta
half
stop that
empty
feed.
kind of a thing.
Sorry, hold on a
It's
second, Lee. I got it repeating over here. All right, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a half full, half. I mean, to me, I looked at it and said, okay, this is perfect. If I were a router manufacturer, I can say, show me the vulnerability for my router and write me code to fix it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it goes
That comes
both
back to
ways.
the educational point.
Yeah.
We need to be educated on this so that we can combat it in real time, because it's going to happen at a faster and faster pace.
All the time. Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean, somebody calling up and asking for your social security number, that's a red flag for anybody in my generation. Why do you need that? You don't give that to anybody. And that's just that's education.
yeah, exactly. And I think we do need to, like Ross said, step forward and be these movers and the shakers that are willing to, because not everybody is. A lot of them, like we've already seen, are scared of this tech and they don't want anything to do with it. They're pushing it aside like it's just a fad. We don't want anything. It's just going to go away. It's not going away. It's going to get only more prevalent in our life and in our business.
Well, there's always people in our society that are chicken littles, as I call them. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. And they're running around no matter what it is, and that's going to be the case. And you just have to kind of ignore those people and help educate those that want to learn, in my opinion.
Speaking of learning, what can we do with the AI, Tony, when it comes to SEO? I know there's a lot of avenues here that are going to shake the world when it comes to SEO.
That, right, Tony?
I might as well shut off my camera.
I don't think anymore it is. What do you got to say about SEO and AI?
No, with SEO, I mean, it goes back to everything else too. I mean, it is a good thing and a bad thing. Depends on how you want to use it. But SEO, I mean, it shortens our time. It's going to come in where you can almost everybody will be able, not everybody, but be able to do your own SEO for the most part. But it's still going to take somebody that knows SEO in order to still guide the SEO platform. I mean, because the human brain still has to interact with the SEO, and at least at this point in time, as far as I know. So when we build out content and structures and all that stuff, just your basic SEO that almost everybody knows, you can it's a tool again. You go use ChatGPT or use these other programs and you ask them how to do it. What's the best title? And you come up with all these titles. You know, half the time I said, well, give me 20 more because I don't like this one. And you just pick what you want and you have to experiment with it. But you can actually tell ChatGPT, you can go back later to your thread and say, this didn't work out. And then how can I help it out? And they'll change it just to restructure it based on new keywords and stuff like that. But I think SEO and marketing in general, online marketing, digital marketing, I think ChatGPT or AI, let me just use AI.
Yeah, we'll use AI.
AI is going to make a huge difference. It's going to improve and just, it's going to blow stuff out of the water. It's going to make people's lives a lot easier, and it's be more effective instead of end users or companies paying you money for PPC and all this other stuff and wasting tons of money. It's going to be more effective in a lot of ways. That's what I believe. So.
Yeah, and I believe that also touches on, and we'll even let Ross and Chris step in on both those. Why don't you guys both give us about 2 minutes on how you're using AI as an SEO tool?
Chris, go ahead, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is just taking my content creation game to the next level. And as Tony has mentioned, you prompt them to give you more titles, to give you more descriptions, give you some direction. But just like you said, it takes a skilled human brain behind it in order to get the result that you're looking for. A great example for myself, I have a good friend who is through the journey of learning Python. He never even heard of OpenAI or ChatGPT. And I told him, did you know that it writes code? It can write Python script. And he got super excited. When I went to write the prompt, I was like, well, what kind of prompt should I do? Like, what is Python, or like, what's a common code to ask? I had no idea.
Yeah.
So he had to tell me, okay, why don't you give me like even or odd integers, skipping every other one, counting down to 0 or something. And I was like, okay, I wrote it right away. It gave me a prompt. He tossed it into a sandbox and it ran the code right away. He was blown away with this, and he was like, why am I even learning Python if this is where things are going? But I think it's just going to be another tool. I don't know what it's going to mean for, government agencies trying to keep up with, good versus bad. How do we use this in the right way? But I think for us as marketers within SEO content creation, this is just upping our game. It's up to us to decide what's going to be higher quality content, what's going to provide value to our listeners, to our audiences. Mm-hmm. And as we see just this, incredible shift into the quantity of content, there has to be a focus on the quality. So that will determine what you as the prompter and the person putting the content out there, that's up for you to decide, and then build that off of your audience.
Awesome. Ross, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'll actually take that to the next step and give you a kind of a how I do it and kind of walk through what that looks like. It's not one AI system for me. So I start with a custom GPT that says, hey, here's my ideal client avatar that I want to work with. Help me figure out what they want to see, what's going to emotionally evoke a response to get in front of them and get their attention. And then I'll take it to Claude AI and have it write it there, because Claude's just a little bit better at sounding human. And then I'll take that from Claude and put it into Gemini and Bard and say, hey, pull out the top 10 SEO words that will trigger with this post. So it's using a suite of AI systems to do it, because not all of them are equal. Everyone has its own special and unique way of working, and it's really up to you to find out what works best. And that's my model that I use whenever I create content.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it. The way I utilize it for some of my customers, one of them I think is on the event here tonight, hanging out. Mike, if you're out there, welcome. Basically, what we've done is we've had the GPT create the content if necessary. So if we can't generate it on our own, then we'll use topical form generators that shoot out to GPT, generate, say, a blog post that's fully SEO organized and even has a few hashtags added. We always request hashtags or keywords for both, because they are a little different. You don't want to necessarily use your keywords as your hashtags all the time. It's good to know what those differences are. So when we do that, then we have the individual record the video, and then we can use AI enhancements for the video. We use stuff in Descript, of course, to do transcript editing, which was an unheard of thing before a few years ago. When I saw that capability alone, I was like, oh my God, I've been editing video the wrong way for 25 years. It's like this, but it's not perfect. It still requires the nuance of a video editor. You can't just expect AI to cut and clip and create an emotional responding video. You have to do that as a human individual. So always keep that in mind. I can use AI tools all day long to help me create images for videos. I have yet to get AI to create me a full video that I would call a decent video yet. Okay. It's capable of doing snippets. It's capable of doing audio. Sound effects are now starting to be a thing. And so are music tracks, which I've been playing with all week. And I want to demonstrate really quickly while I've got everybody here. This is one example of what you can do with AI, but I've got to bring it in here. 1 second.
And while you're pulling that up, I want to point out the conversation that Leo and I had about this earlier today was I asked him how long it took him. And I thought he was going to say a couple minutes here or there. It took him a couple hours to do this. So it's still a job. Yeah, it's not taking it completely away. It takes a human to make it happen. But, I mean, it's not taking weeks to do what he's about to show you.
Okay, what'd they do? They took away the folder to get... Oh, here it is. I got it.
Yeah, it's not a one-button push. Oh, it's
no, done. I got to go through like 20 different things just to get... Yeah, I created clips. Well, I created clips. What it came down to was it couldn't... Now, Lee, you mentioned another audio app that can create full-length music tracks. I was not using one of those. The one, and we're not mentioning names here at this on set because I don't think it's necessary. We're just going to mention tool types. I went ahead and created segments or small pieces of stuff that we could use, and this is what I came up with.
This digital age, we're breaking the mold. With AI fusion, let the story unfold. From art to business, the future is here. Unlock the potential, make it crystal clear. Yeah. It's time to fuse, let the sparks ignite. AI in action, reaching new heights. is blending into one. AI fusion, the journey's just begun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. The best AI podcast where we'll continue to grow. A world of innovation where dreams become reality. Come join the movement, let's take AI to the next level. We're breaking barriers, we're writing the code. Together we'll conquer, watch our ideas unfold. The future starts here, joining the revolution. Let's say our podcast, the ultimate solution.
So you get the idea. That's roughly 2 minutes of audio and music and vocals that were all compiled from a single prompt that asked for one thing: a intro audio track for a podcast called Best AI Podcast. That was all I entered into the
Leland,
entire
that
prompt,
song slaps.
and that's
Yeah,
what it
that's
gave
so
me.
good.
Those video
I'm
edits were
impressed,
sick too.
Now the video is something that's pulled off a normal video feed. That's just a B-roll video that was put together, but it took somebody's effort to generate that video. Okay. I simply put an audio track under it. That was it. And I clipped it up a little bit. Now, would AI be capable of generating videos like that in the nearest future? Absolutely. There's no doubt whatsoever that the highest possible quality videos we can ever think of as B-roll could be generated by AI if given the right, prompts, is what it comes down to.
I want to go back to something you
Yeah,
said
go ahead.
earlier, if you don't mind, Leland, real
Absolutely.
quick. And that was, we were talking about, these tools and SEO. And I think the thing that's important for us to remember, you have to keep your eye on the ball. In other words, everyone has a message they're trying to reach an audience. Doesn't matter if you're the federal government or you're a business. And that's the goal. And all these things are just ways to allow you to do that. So generating a bunch of keywords is great, but if that doesn't fit or help compel somebody to look at your product or go to your website, it doesn't matter. So you got to remember, it's still the same problem with just a different tool used to do that.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Lee. Let's see what else we got. So normally about this time is where we would throw in a demo of the day. So what do you think, Lee? Do you have Focus up by any chance?
I do on this other machine.
If not, I can pull mine up real quick.
Let me see here. I got it. So let's just describe what Focus is, first of all.
Sure.
Focus, it's Foocus.
Focus.
It's Focus is what they pronounce. Many people pronounce. It's 3 O's. I know that. And what it is it's a local AI LLM or generator, image generator,
yeah.
that was based on stable diffusion, that lets you run locally. And the nice thing is you can play with it. It doesn't cost a thing. It's free. It's open source, which is also a really cool thing about what's going on in the AI world. A ton of open source work. And what it lets you do is create images, and it's not, you don't have to be connected to the internet. It's not hobbled in any way. In other words, you can generate whatever images you want, non-safe for work images or whatever you want to call them. Or you can create, kittens. But the nice thing is it runs locally. It's free. It's easy to install. There's a program you just run. You can get it off of GitHub. And you run it, and it just installs itself. You don't have to. Some of the stuff can be complicated. I found this to be very, very easy to install and great to play with. And I've been using it a lot, and it's a terrific tool.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that it's available in a couple of different flavors. You can actually get it through Pinocchio, which is an app it's spelled Pinokio without CH. It's instead of a CH, it's a K. That's an open source browser utility that allows you to run all kinds of apps, whether they're database apps, AI apps, and all kinds of other things inside a browser. And what it also does is it pulls all that GitHub code down to the browser so that it can install an instance of that within your system. Now, keep this in mind when you're doing image generation, Lee, as well with this software and any others that are built on the Stable Diffusion engine, which is what this is. And this is kind of a crossbreed between Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, which uses very similar prompts to Midjourney. The reason I'm saying this is the fact that this app needs an RTX video card in order to run proper, okay? But it does install directly on a Windows machine. So a lot of times you'll find some of these AIs, you have to use them online on the cloud. Well, there are a lot of open source engines for image generation that you can download directly on your PC and just generate as many images as you want and not pay people for credits that are what are being charged now are GPT credits or OpenAI credits to run certain instances of a video through these diffusion elementers. So it's really a matter of what avenue you want to take. You don't have to go online. Anything else anybody wants to mention as far as a tool they're using currently that they use every day? While he gets this up, I want him to show a demo of it real quick so we can, if you can get it up, Lee, do you have it open?
Yeah, I do.
All right, go ahead and use
Before
the
you run that, I
share.
just want to tell
Yeah, go
everybody,
ahead. Yep.
before you told me where to get that, I went to Google and typed it in.
Yep.
And as we were talking earlier, for people to be careful, I'm now getting notifications from Chrome that I have a Trojan virus because I just clicked on a link for Focus AI.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's not an actual virus. I just ran a virus scan. My
Oh,
computer's
okay.
clean, but it's a notification pop-up that if I
Yep.
click on, I will get a virus. So
I
it
got
comes
you.
back to that education that people need to be aware of.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're in a share here with Lee. Let me just
Do
set
you
the
see
view
my
options.
screen?
Hold on, let me set the
Yeah,
view
trust
options.
Google, right?
I got to get full screen for you here, and then I'm going to merge it for everyone else. So, there we go. All right, we're showing it to everyone on the event right now. If anybody's out there, Lee, so
Okay, so
feel free.
I went in and I just said, create an image of a cute kitten just now while you guys were talking, and I'll go in and I'll say wearing a hat, and you can set the size, you can set the quality, the style, and you can see there's all these different, if you want a cartoon style, realistic style, you just select what you want here.
I love the way they use the little kittens to represent
I know.
each type
Isn't
of
that cool?
format.
And I thought it was, at first I thought it was because I was using a cat, but it
prompt?
does that all the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. No, that's
Well,
the prompt. It
that's
shows
really
you what it
clever
looks
they
like
did
on a
it.
cat.
So I
They know
hit,
their market.
Yeah, it is.
really.
It's the
So I
cat
hit
market.
generate. Let's see what it does, and it comes back. And there's a slider you can see over here. It says 2. I can crank this up to, I think I've changed
32,
30
I think.
or 64.
Yep.
So you can get it'll create it'll create 2 images for me, and it'll just give me whatever. And so if I don't like that, I can say change red to green or whatever. It'll create another image.
Mm-hmm.
And this is it. It doesn't have to be connected to the internet. It doesn't cost you anything. It's running on a Windows machine. I don't know. I think it may run on a Mac, but I know for sure.
I tried it through the Pinocchio app, and it seems to stop mid-generation, and I think it's based on the M1. There is supposedly a version of Stable Diffusion that will run on a Mac M1, 2, or 3, but the M1 is going to run it a lot slower than the M3, obviously, would ever run it. Could you just do me a favor and check the box where it says input image down below there?
Okay.
At the bottom of the screen.
So what happens
go through that real quick.
When you do that, it then gives you the ability. So let's say I like this image here. I want to drag it, and I want to create more of them. So what happens is now it'll use that as a reference. I can tell it to upscale it to high res, or I can tell it to vary it. I'll just say very strong. Let's just see what it generates on its own if I don't enter anything.
And can you explain to him, Lee, what upscaling is?
Oh, upscaling is like, let's say you have a low res image that's maybe 756 by 3 something, and then upscaling will increase that resolution and make it higher resolution used for something else.
Yes, and it definitely beautifies the image if you want to upscale.
Yeah.
But you find the right one that you want, then you start to upscale your images so that you get better quality images.
Right. So, and then you can also do image prompt where I could do the same thing. I can drag an image into here and do the same thing and use that as more of a model. So there's a lot of things you can do here and play. I'm still learning the system, and of course they keep upgrading it and changing it. But that's it's pretty cool, and it's free.
I think the speed at which you can sit and watch the thing render in front of your
Right.
eyes and create
And I'm not
an
even
original.
on the fastest speed.
I know, it's crazy. So that gives
I
you
love
guys a good idea.
Leland's example as a demo. He used a picture of a kitten just like this, but then in his he used that reference image, but then he said dog, and it changed everything about the kitten from the fur to the pose to the type of hat, but it turned it into a dog.
Yeah,
Oh,
try that,
wow.
Lee. Just change.
All right,
use
so I'll
use
change
an
the word
image.
kitten to dog. Let's see what
Just
happens.
use an image reference and just say dog. That's all you have to do is say the word dog at the bottom, and it should take everything that it used on the cat that's being an image prompt. Red hat, orange hair. Yeah, there you go.
Wow. That's crazy.
Isn't that cool?
Now let's address something. The elephant in the room here, I think, on this thing. As as a commercial photographer that's made his living for 30 years, there's a lot of photographers are like, "Oh, this is it. It's going to ruin photography. Why do you need a photographer?" That's not the case. See, I think what happens is a lot of in advertising. What was very typical is you get called into a client or to an ad agency, and they look at you and say, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this. We have a client that wants this kind of ad," and they would basically take pictures from other photographers or things off the internet, whatever, and they would paste them on this board, and they would say, "We're looking for," and it was a mock-up. It wasn't the real. They don't want you to copy that. They're saying, and this is the same thing. You could, number one, use these kind of images as a mock-up to say this is the kind of thing we're going for. They're not asking you to copy this. Saying something like this would be one thing. The other thing is another business that is interesting that's really adopted this, and I was kind of surprised, was the stock photo agency, because I figured they were the ones that are going to get killed. The stock photo agencies essentially drove a lot of photographers out of business because we used to make money by selling the rights to our photos for a limited period of time, a year, that type of thing. Well, when you start buying stock photography, you get unlimited rights, right? Well, now what's happened is you can create your own stock photography. I don't need to go to iStock or anything like that. I can do it right here.
But what I'm finding, and I was just out today searching for some stock B-roll, some stock AI images, and of course, those sites are still generating. And you can even go and generate AI images on what's it called?
They've gotten smart. They've figured it out.
Shutterstock. Yeah, you can get them
What
by typing.
What they're now doing is they're now training AI on the images they have. So that's another thing we should discuss either, and maybe in the next one, is how does this AI really work? Because that's the other misconception.
Yeah, we'll cover the general.
People in the next people think, oh, it's stealing. This is a photo somebody else took, and they're just copying. That is not the way AI works.
No. All right. Well, and you got something to say on? I wanted to get Brad in on this conversation a little bit. I know he's taking a good gander of what's going on, but have you used AI for?
Over there. That's why he's not talking much.
Have you used it much in your graphic design?
I actually hate using it right now because the choices it gives me are a little canned or they're off. You know, I'm a graphic designer and a creative director.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm at. That's why
Lee and I have a lot in common, although I worked in production houses in New York City, not ad agencies. And so artificial intelligence for illustration, for, touching up photos, this is awesome. I love it. But I started using it with Shutterstock, and I was asking for AI images, and I was really getting annoyed at what they were bringing to me. It wasn't in depth enough for what I needed. So I had to shut it off. I really did. But I'll turn it back on when it gets better because it's about speed to market for us right now. I'm a content creator, and I'm doing a podcast. I do magazines. I do books, everything. I need to speed up. That's really what it is. So
yeah, I'd love
to
to
when it gets a little better.
And I'm sorry to interrupt.
Brad, we've all had that issue of looking at a blank screen or a blank page, right? And the nice thing about AI is it can give you some concepts. You say, oh, this is kind of an interesting. Maybe if I took this and this. And I think for brainstorming, it's terrific. I agree with you, though, it's not there yet.
Yeah.
And what I keep telling people, and the thing they keep forgetting, I think, is that this is December 1903, and the Wright brothers have just taken off a Kitty Hawk. And that's it. And they're going, this isn't right. It's not there. Well, AI sucks. I'm like, well, yeah, it's because the things that we've only had the thing a year, essally.
Yeah. You only went 30 feet.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Nobody was going to go, oh, I'm going to go out and get my commercial pilot's license. Okay. We weren't there. And so I think that's the thing people are missing is that we're very, very early. And the other thing I love to say is this is the worst it's going to be. Yep. It's going to only get better.
That's true. That's a good point. Ross, you got something to interject there? You look like you're ready to spit something.
I'm just taking it in, man. I love being around other people that think like I do with this.
It's good.
Fun just listening. Usually I'm the one talking and telling everybody about it. So
that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, no, it's in its infancy. Right. And that's what I tell everybody. It's a baby. You expect it to be perfect right now. It's not. But give it 5 years and you'll be talking to it like it's you and me. And it's the way to interface with the computer of the future.
Well, look how far it's come. Look how far it's happened in just a year. Mm-hmm. I mean, so here's the company I keep my eye on. What is Apple gonna do? Because they've been very, very quiet about this, and yet I think if they were to really do this correctly and add this to Siri and all their other platform systems, they could totally blow AI. That would really then be a product that people would know how to use and would adopt.
And that segues us right into our next segment. So, and that would be, how are we going to push it forward? What's the next step? What can we bring that's not there yet? What do we anticipate being the next move in AI? What do you see, Ross? Go ahead.
I think it's getting it more conversational so that instead of having to type, I can have a conversation with it. I think that's the only way to move forward with it. If you don't do that, there's too much of a bottleneck always. So as soon as I can just talk to it like it's us talking right now, that's the next evolution I think everybody's going to be pushing for.
I keep going to that. Every time I hear that, and I agree, I keep thinking of that scene in Star Trek, the movie, where Scotty picks up the mouse and starts talking into it, thinking that's the way you're...
That's what it is. I see that. But I'm already using it that way. Like, I am literally trying to get used to prompting with my voice rather than typing prompts. Try that for a moment and just use your voice recorder or whatever, your text to speech or speech to text, sorry, and go that route. Just speak your prompt. Try to think in your head like you're talking to your neighbor and, hey, I need a picture of a dog in a green suit walking along a river with a coat on his shoulder with an umbrella in his hand. That is the perfect prompt. Yeah. It really is. And you have to remember that.
Chat GPT has that, right? They call it Whisper. I've never used it, but I think
you're supposed to be able to talk to it. Very soon, you'll just be able to converse with it, like Ross mentioned. It'll be
did Brad just have a Star Trek communicator, or is
yeah, he probably has one over there.
We're already doing that in the car, right? You push a button in the car and you ask your system, tell me how to get to Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Okay, and it gives you directions. So we're not that far off.
No. Yeah. No, we're going to be creating them on the back end very soon. And just so everybody knows, all of us here, we're not selling products during these things because there's a reason for that. We all deal in AI of some sort or another, whether it's with our knowledge, whether it's with our services, whether it's with the products we own and sell or refer for others. It's all behind us, okay? We don't want to present that to you guys here. That's not what we're here for. So if you want to reach out to any of us on this panel that you seem to vibe with, that you like hearing from, you like the voice of, you like looking at their face, whatever that might be, get a hold of them. We'll leave all that contact information as the show progresses. We'll have pages where you can find ways to reach out to all of us. So that was the intent for this to move ahead. We've got about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to let we're going to carry this over. If any of you who are at the actual event want to come join us, I'm going to leave the Zoom link out. It is, I believe, on the comment feed if you haven't seen it already, but you can come join us in the Zoom if you are here. I'll be happy to let you in. So one at a time around the wheel here, Lee, starting with you. What do you want to wrap this up with from your perspective?
Well, I'd like to show you guys something. If you can let
Yeah,
me
go ahead.
share a screen
Sure.
here. Let me see if
Absolutely.
I can do this. Let me go back and say share screen. We'll go back. This is something that I created. Now there's gonna have to be audio here. Can you get audio?
All right, I
off
gotta
this
get.
thing?
You've got to prompt that before you do it in the bottom left
Sorry.
corner. You got to
Bottom
add
left
in.
corner.
You got to add in what
Uh,
you're doing there.
Where do
Right
I
when
do
you
that?
go to share that item,
Oh, I see.
you're gonna
Oh, I
want to
see.
see.
Share sound. Okay, hang
Yep.
on.
And then I got to repin you.
Let's see if this works.
Once you share it, I should be able to put it up on the screen for people.
You see
hold
this?
on, Antonio coming in. Sorry. I see him coming in over here. Sorry for the late entry there, Antonio. All right. Did you pin that yet?
I think so. Yeah. Oh,
I'm
hang
not
on. Let me just
seeing
say
it.
share. Hang on.
Yeah, you
hang
got to
on.
finish the share, I think. There we go.
Let's try that. Okay.
Now I got it. I'm going to merge this over so people can see it. We got a couple that left. Did they get booted?
All right.
Or did you just turn off your cameras? Oh, okay. That's cool.
This is a character that I created with Midjourney, and his name is Cam, and he is a cranky old photographer. And I use him as an antagonist against when I go for my YouTube channel, which is called Photo Mentor. And so anyway, and the voice is all created via text to speech, and then the animation is done using a program called DID. So I'll let you play.
Go for it.
Let's see if this works.
All right.
My name is Cam, and back in my day, we had to walk 15 miles uphill in the snow just to snap a decent photo. None of these fancy gadgets you folks use today. And what's this talk about, a photo mentor trivia quiz? Sounds like a newfangled contraption. But I hear it's a good way to test how much y'all know about the good old days of photography. I bet most of you whippersnappers wouldn't know an aperture from a hole in the ground. Think you got what it takes? Prove me wrong. Try this quiz and show me what you're made of. If you want to impress an old-timer and prove you are a real photographer like me, make sure you don't just click and flash. Subscribe to that. What's it called? Oh, yeah, that YouTube or some darn thing. Good luck. You'll need it.
YouTube or
That's
some
awesome.
damn thing.
That's great.
I
That
love
is
that.
great.
That's really good.
So that's just using a few tools.
Can you tell us what they are? Go ahead and tell us what tools you use to complete that.
So the first tool was Midjourney, is where I created the character, and that was the hardest part, coming up. You know, the one that guy looked like you want him to look, as Brad mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took that and I went to a great site called 11labs.io. This has I'm not affiliated with these guys, but they have the best text to speech system I've ever heard.
$5 to go try it out right now. It's actually $1 to start, and it's $5 a month if you want to play with it. Go check it out.
It's fantastic. And they keep adding, like they just added this one feature now. It does multiple languages. One feature is you can take your voice, record it or speak, and then it will turn that into either a different voice or your own voice, because I've cloned my own voice. So the reason you would do that is it puts more emphasis. You want to be more dramatic. That's what I was wondering,
where you got the drama. Yeah, that's
right.
Cool.
So
love it.
So anyway, so then I took this and uploaded the still image to a site called d-id.com.
Yep.
And then I uploaded the video. Or audio. You can use their audios. They do the same kind of thing, but 11 Labs I felt was better. And then it generates this video.
That's so cool.
And then I took the video, I brought it down. It was green screen. I chroma keyed it out, and I put this little thing together. And I have a bunch of characters like this. I have one called Nikola Vector.
Oh, nice.
And he does these technical quizzes on nerd gizmos and things like that. So I've got this whole line of these characters I've created that allow me to do so much more that I could have never done. My own animation skills.
Cost alone, the cost you would have paid a 3D renderable design creator to make that for you would have just cost. It would have even. I can't even go that deep, but we're running out of time. So Lee, I'm gonna go ahead. Go ahead.
One last point.
All right.
I do this.
All right. Go ahead.
it's all about the story, though, right? It made you laugh. That's the point you have to remember. It's not about AI. It's about you telling a story. It's about you using your personal skills to connect with other people. And that's what's important to remember. It's not AI. It's not AI is going to put you a job out of business. It's using these tools to further your message. That's the key.
It's the guy using AI. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking that while I was watching, from the mind of a genius. That was amazing.
I'm telling
That
you,
was
man,
brilliant.
this guy shocks me every time. And the thing is he's compiled all of that into an actual podcast that has full players with sound effects and music tracks and everything else that goes with it. So Lee, we'll be definitely letting people know how to get a hold of that. Are you still constructing those, by the way? Are you still doing?
I am.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I am. I'm trying to up my game to be able to take these and not just make them his mouth move, but get rid of DID and actually have him animated so he can walk, move his hands, hold up a camera, that kind of thing.
I think Pinocchio will help you there. If you go into some of the apps that they have there, they use the wireframing so that you can attach hands to hand, elbow to elbow.
Bones, rigging. Yeah, okay, cool.
All right, let's go around the bend then. Tony, you're next. Go ahead and give us a feel for what you think's coming next or what you want to see happen out here at AI Podcast.
I just think we didn't touch on it, but I think a lot of the robotics are going to be transformed with all the AI coming out. Prior to this, I didn't talk about it, but I've been in the automotive industry for 22 years. So you have a lot of the manufacturing that the majority of them were built by mechanics anyway, mechanical engineering and robotics. So now that you actually implement AI, I think a lot of the fear of people losing their jobs and so forth and so on is going to be a reality in some aspect. Mm-hmm. But with this, I think great products, great exploration is going to be coming into the future, not only in automotive, but I think any technical advances in
medical. Yeah, with robotics and medical and the ability for AI to find things that we, with our naked eye, cannot see, like the little clusters of cancer cells and things that are being identified with AI now that some people just don't. It's patterns. It's all about patterns. The AI can recognize patterns so much faster than we would ever be able to do with our human brain. It's just phenomenal.
Did you guys hear about the company that's working?
I'd love to talk about it, Lee, but we're not going to today. So I'm going to go right to Brad.
Right.
Brad, give me your wrap up here real quick. I appreciate it.
No, I'm
thanks,
just excited to join this group, listen to you guys, learn, and then I actually want to present what I find out and on my next book and the things I create, just to show a little bit of what's going on.
Okay, you've been challenged. You get to take care of the book writing aspects of things from here on forward. So when it comes to writing content as a book, I think that'd be great. And I've got some other stuff that we can show next week on that stuff as well. So, Ross.
Lee, by the way, if you need voices, I do voices.
Yes. Give us an example, Brad. Give us a couple real quick. What kind of voices do you do?
I could be Christopher Walken if you want. Like a okie doke, great Scott.
He's got a few. We'll bring him out as we're going to give him his own segment as well.
I did 8 voices on Legend of Zelda.
How many?
How many? 8 character voices on Legend of Zelda.
Oh, that's cool.
The Adventures of Link, way back in the day. I was hired to do 8 different character voices on there. I also used to get paid to imitate Christopher Walken on the radio.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so, just let me know.
So
okay, now I will say those guys should be shaking in their boots, because I will admit that business is going to be tough.
Voiceovers for sure, absolutely. Ross, what do you got?
But then so are long distance operators are gone and elevator operators. So it happens.
That's okay. We don't need elevator operators anyway.
We grew up with 8-track tapes, and they're gone. I saw 3.
Ross, your turn. What do you got?
I'm looking forward to what the cell phone industry is going to bring out. With what I saw from CES with the S24 coming out with the translation in real time, you don't even have to hear the other person talking. It just tells you the translation.
Okay,
that's going to be powerful. So
you see them demo the Rabbit?
The Rabbit's cool. R1, it looks really cool, but in practicality, I don't know how good it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Russ, if you're that up on mobile and want to kind of give us the updates on mobile highlights that pop in on AI, then we'll kind of rely on you to go there, if that's okay with you. Lee obviously will be the photography type stuff, anything photo related, anything camera related and image related. Tony, SEO all the way, website construction, whatever you want to throw on the table. Chris, give us your take of what you want to see with AI coming forward.
Well, for me, I feel like I have a fever, and the only cure is more AI. So going forward,
What have you been doing recently? What's the stuff? What have you been playing with the most lately?
it's conceptually, honestly, it's really just the Chat GPT. You've
Okay.
been showing me a lot of cool models. We played with a lot of the music apps. I'm just really excited about that.
Yeah,
But
those are fun.
with AI and these conversations, we don't know what is possible or what we're capable of until we have these conversations and talk about it. The use cases, the end goals, what tools are you using? So that way we can all start benefiting from the community, from each other, and help bring each other up and just take us to the next level. That's what I'm most excited about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on this broadcast today, because it was last minute, man. We just thought this thing up last week. So if you thought this was going to be some big, elaborate, paid for event today, no, absolutely not. This was a pilot episode just to see what's going on.
So
If there's anybody over
I'm
there,
not getting royalties on this?
no, not this time. Sorry.
We're out of here.
I do want to let anybody that's over in the event. I'm going to repeat the link to the Zoom. Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes left to hang out here according to schedule. So if you want to hop in the zoom.us/my/best live, which we'll probably change that up a little bit over time to get the right Zoom handle so you guys don't forget it. Come on by. If I don't see anybody within the next 2 minutes, we're just going to bail out after we have a little chit chat. So guys, that was awesome. Anything that you guys want to bring to the table as far as things we should talk about that we didn't, or possible format options?
Surface, man. This conversation was so effortless.
Yeah,
it was.
I'm looking forward to doing more of these.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, me too.
Glad
you
to
made
hear
me
it.
realize I really could do well with this and just learn it, and because I'm learning Camtasia. I've been using ScreenFlow for years. I just got on Camtasia, figured it out in a couple of days. I'm editing. Now the next phase is all these AI tools. So
Yeah,
I'm really excited to learn. And
hey, Brad.
Yep.
I've
There we
been
go. We
using
got somebody coming in
Camtasia
right
for
now.
a couple of years here. If you need any help, let me know.
absolutely, I'll
cool.
reach out to you if I got some more complex stuff, because ScreenFlow is much more complex, but I've really enjoyed the process, and it burns to video much faster. I used to set up ScreenFlow, and it would take an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh my
sometimes to
gosh.
burn.
Whoa.
And this does it in less than 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I need to look at your stuff, Brad. You and I should probably sit down and see what you've got set up for video editors and audio components now, so we can straighten
for
you
my
up.
podcast, I do it in both video and audio, but it's one shot, and the graphics for each show. So
there's just a lot of really cool tools out there that we're using now that
there are.
save us so much effort. So Antonio, welcome to the feed. I hope you enjoyed I know you didn't see the whole thing. I didn't let you in almost immediate when you showed up, and you showed up a little late. But again, it wasn't an event broadcast, but we were here to try and help. If you got any questions, leave them in the chat. Let's see. Sorry for coming. No, don't worry about it, Antonio,
for joining us. Appreciate that.
But we're just going to hang for 5 minutes. I just want to let everybody know I'm going to help. Lee and I are going to sit down and help structure the format and the content for each show. All I'm asking from you guys is to kind of be ready with a couple of new things that you've seen over the course of the week. Maybe jot them down in a little file folder that you guys can store a thing or two during the week, so that if you need to pass it on to me, like if it's a video clip that you see that's, man, I think Leland should have this, shoot it to me. I'll open a place where we can drop that stuff very soon. Probably a Google link to start, but I think my Google Drive's about full on my main Gmail account that I use. So I may use a third-party source that I have several of for unlimited storage.
35 terabytes.
Insert more money. I think they'll let you put more stuff on.
Exactly.
I've
got
35
stuff.
terabytes, Leland. I can do that for us.
Oh, okay.
It can't
if you've
be
got
AI
that,
money.
that's cool.
It's got to be real money, Leland. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all good. Yeah, if you want to do that, Russ, that's cool. You're quite the content creator anyway, so if you want to hold on to some content, that'll work. So send it to Ross if you have anything for the show. He'll store it
for everybody.
Yeah, that'll work. That's all right.
Google spreadsheet together. That way we can all just kind of post in there what we need, links or whatever.
Sounds good.
I'm going to also, in that same folder that you create, I'm going to drop 2 huge prompt generators that are based on Google Sheets so that you guys can just work with them and play with them and learn them a little bit. All right,
you
guys.
all send me email addresses and I'll invite you and just create a folder.
Put them in the chat right now, guys, for whatever you use for Google Drive. Okay. And Antonio, feel free to use maybe at least my email, beststudiosllc@gmail, if you want to get a hold of me on anything that's happening with the podcast. And this should get saved in your documents folder.
Spooky.
Yep, not a problem.
AI.
Did I hear
it's
Christopher
spooky.
Walken just a
Yes.
little
Yes,
random?
he did.
It's scary.
Wow.
It's,
All
it
right,
should
we're gonna-
scare.
We're
All
going to
you.
close
I
the
didn't wanna
feed
bring it
going out, so I appreciate
You ever
that.
fired-
Live feed's
You
down.
ever fired up a computer? It's crazy.
I love
Wow.
it. Totally love it. All right.